The sky was dark and filled with black clouds. Ash and dust blew across the broken ground like waves of smoke. The war had ended here, but the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, cold, and full of pain in the middle of the battlefield. A figure crawled through the ash. Her name was Alari. A warrior from the Yashari tribe. Her armor was broken, her hands bleeding. Her eyes half closed, each breath hurt. Like fire in her chest. Her body shook, her legs would not move, but still. She pulled herself forward, one hand at a time. She was looking for someone, her daughter. The last thing she remembered was the crash. Her ship had been hit, spinning through the air, flames rising behind. Her daughter had been beside her, crying, then darkness. Now she was alone. She had searched for hours, maybe days. She had lost count. Her communicator was destroyed. Her map was gone. Only a small photo of her daughter stayed in her pocket. Burned at the edges, Alari's skin, once bright blue, was now gray from ash. Her long braid had come undone, dirt and blood covering her face. She could no longer hear the sounds of war. But inside her heart, the war was still loud. Her body could not go much farther. Her arms gave up. Her head dropped to the ground. She lay still, eyes blinking slowly. Snow mixed with ash started to fall, cold and sharp. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She thought of her daughter's voice, the little laugh, the soft hands pulling at her belt. She thought of the promise she made. I will always find you. Now she had failed. She closed her eyes. This is my final breath, she thought. Her chest rose once, then stopped. She waited for the end to come. But someone else was moving in the storm. A man, covered in dust and rags, was walking across the ruins. His name was Jacob, a human scavenger. He searched for tech, for food, for anything he could trade. He had no friends, no army. Only an old scanner and a heavy coat. He walked with care, but his eyes were sharp. He had lived through too many battles to relax now. As he climbed over a pile of broken stone, he saw something strange. Not metal, not machine. It was a body. A small alien body half buried in ash. He paused, hand on his weapon. Many aliens were dangerous, even when dying, but something made him stop. He looked again, saw the weak rise of her chest. She's alive, he whispered, shocked. He walked closer. Slowly, her fingers twitched, her lips moved. He knelt beside her, saw the burns, the wounds, the pain. She was barely breathing. He could leave her, no one would know. One less alien in a world already broken. But her hand clutched something. He gently opened her fingers. It was a photo, small and worn. A child's face smiled up at him. Alien but innocent. Jacob's jaw tightened. He had lost his own daughter. Long ago, war had taken her. Just like it had taken everything else. He sighed, took off his coat and wrapped it around her. You're not dying today, he said, voice low but firm. He picked her up in his arms. Surprised by how light she was, she didn't fight, didn't scream. She was too far gone, too weak. Her head rested against his chest. Jacob looked around, making sure no patrols were near. Then he turned and walked, feet sinking into the soft ash. The storm grew stronger, wind howling like a beast. But he didn't stop, behind them. The battlefield remained silent, but in his arms, something fragile still lived. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story, but something inside him refused to let her die like this. Not alone, not forgotten. He reached the edge of the ruins, found the entrance to his small shelter. It was hidden under a broken transport. Covered in netting and dirt, he went inside, gently placed her on a makeshift bed. The heater hummed, casting soft light across the room. He looked at her one last time before pulling a blanket over her. She was still breathing, barely, but that was enough. She thought it was her final breath, he whispered, sitting beside her. But maybe it's just a new beginning. Alari's eyes opened slowly. Her vision was blurry, her head heavy. She felt warmth on her skin, soft fabric under her back. The pain was still there. But it was distant, dull. She blinked again, trying to understand where she was. Gone was the ash-covered ground. Gone was the cold wind and dark sky. Now she was inside a room, quiet and warm. A soft light hummed above. The air smelled of something strange: smoke, oil, and old wood. She tried to sit up, but a sharp pain stopped her. Her arms trembled, her chest ached. Bandages covered her shoulder and side, clean, white, and carefully wrapped. Her heart raced. Was she captured? Was this a trap? She looked around, eyes scanning for danger. The room was small, but not like a prison. One wall was lined with shelves full of tools and metal parts. A heater glowed near the corner, pushing warmth into the room. A small table held a plate of food and a glass of water. There was only one door, closed but not locked. Suddenly, she heard soft footsteps. The door opened, and a human stepped in. It was a man, tall, tired-looking, with short brown hair and kind eyes. He wore a long coat and old gloves. His face was rough, with a long scar across his cheek. Alari's body tensed, her fingers ready to fight. But she couldn't move fast. Her injuries held her down. She growled low in her throat. Her eyes sharp, the man didn't move closer. He held up his hands, slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. His voice was calm, slow, careful. Alari didn't answer. She didn't trust him. But she was too weak to fight. He placed the plate of food on a small stool near the bed, then stepped back. "Eat if you want," he said, pointing to the plate, "not poisoned." He added with a small smile. She stared at him, confused. Why was he smiling? Why was he helping her? Pointed at himself. "Jacob," he said. Then he pointed at her. "You?" She didn't speak. Not yet. Not until she knew he wasn't lying. He waited for a moment, then turned and walked out of the room. The door clicked shut behind him, but there was no lock. She listened for footsteps. They faded away for a while. She lay still. Her body ached, but her mind was working. Why would a human save her? They were enemies, weren't they? The war had made that clear, but she was alive, and the food smelled real. Her stomach growled, loud and painful. She reached out, slowly. Her hand shook as she picked up the bread and took a bite. Warm, soft, real, not poisoned. She ate slowly, watching the door, but no one came. Later that night, the door opened again. Jacob stepped in, holding a small metal device. He didn't speak, just checked the heater, then placed the device on the table. He looked at her. "Then the bandages, need clean ones tomorrow," he said softly. Alari finally spoke. Her voice was low, rough. "Why?" she asked. "Why help?" "Me?" Jacob sat on the floor, arms resting on his knees. He looked at her for a long time before speaking. "You were dying," he said. "I couldn't just leave you." "We're enemies," she said weakly. He nodded. "Maybe," he said. "But not here, not in my home." She didn't understand. Humans didn't show mercy in war, but this one felt different. He looked away, eyes distant. "I lost someone once," he said quietly. She was small, full of light. He didn't say more, but the pain in his voice was real. Alari felt something strange. Not fear, not hate, but a quiet pull, like a thread connecting them to broken souls in the middle of a silent world. Jacob stood up, walked to the door. He paused. Looking back at her rest, he said, "You're safe now." Then he left again. This time, she didn't feel afraid. She looked around the room once more. The bed was soft, the air warm. She closed her eyes, not to die, but to sleep. For the first time in many nights, she didn't dream of fire or screams, only the sound of a human's quiet voice, and the strange feeling of being protected. The days passed slowly. Alari's wounds began to heal. Her body was still weak, but the pain was softer now. She could sit up without crying. She could drink water without shaking. Jacob kept his distance. He entered the room only to clean her bandages or bring food. He didn't speak much, only said a few words each time. She didn't answer often, but she watched him closely. He moved like someone carrying a heavy past, careful, quiet, tired. He never raised his voice, never looked angry or afraid. Even though he was living with an alien under his roof, Alari was confused. This man had no reason to help her, and yet, every morning, food appeared by her side. Every night, he brought clean cloth and medicine. Sometimes, he left small things too. A book, a soft pillow, even a small music device that played gentle sounds. She didn't understand him, but she no longer feared him. One evening, the sky outside turned red with sunset. Alari sat near the small window, blanket over her shoulders. She watched the light fall on broken machines and burnt trees outside. The war had taken everything. Her ship, her people, her daughter, her fingers touched the burned photo in her pocket. She stared at her daughter's smiling face. Tears didn't fall. She had cried too many already. The door opened quietly. Jacob entered with a metal bowl of soup and placed it beside her. He turned to leave, but she spoke. Wait. He stopped, looked back at her. Alari took a deep breath. Why? She asked again. Why save me? Jacob leaned against the wall, crossed his arms. He didn't answer right away. The silence was long. Finally, he said, You looked like you were trying to live. Her eyes narrowed. That's not a reason. He nodded slowly. Maybe not, he said, but I've seen enough death. He looked out the window, his voice low. I've seen good people die, friends, family, strangers. I couldn't just walk past you. Alari stared at him. You know who I am, she said. Yashari warrior, your people hunted us. Burned our ships. Jacob nodded again. I know, he said, and your people destroyed my outpost. Left me for dead, but I still couldn't leave you to die alone. In the ash. She looked down at her hands, once strong, now thin and trembling. You should hate me, she whispered. Maybe I did, Jacob said. A long time ago. But hate didn't keep me alive. Kindness did. His words were strange, but they felt real. Alari didn't answer. She just looked at him, really looked. His coat was patched, his boots worn. His hands were rough, fingers scarred, but his eyes were calm, not like a soldier's. Like a man who had lost everything and chose not to hate anymore. She asked, Do you live alone? Jacob nodded. Since the war began. He sat on the floor across from her. My wife died in the first strike. He said, my daughter was taken. Alari's heart sank. She opened her hand, showed him the photo. My daughter, she said softly. Taken during the crash, Jacob leaned forward, looked at the picture. She's beautiful. He said. They sat in silence, sharing something without needing more words. That night, Alari couldn't sleep. Her body was tired, but her mind was full. She thought of the war, the screams, the blood, and now, this strange, quiet life in a human's home. Was this peace? Or just a short moment before more pain, the next? Morning, she tried to walk. Her legs were weak, but she stood, slowly. Jacob entered and saw her. He rushed forward, ready to help, but she raised her hand. I need to move, she said. He stepped back, letting her take small steps across the room. She walked to the window, breathing hard, but proud. You're healing fast, Jacob said. Alari gave a short nod. I have too, she whispered. I still need to find her. Jacob didn't ask who. He already knew. The night was quiet. Only the soft hum of the heater filled the small shelter. Jacob had gone to sleep in the other room. Alari sat alone on the edge of the bed, eyes wide open. The pain in her body was fading, but something worse was growing inside her. Memories, sharp and hot, began to rise again. She closed her eyes, and the past returned like fire. She was back inside her ship. It was shaking, alarms screaming, lights flashing red. Her daughter, Lyra, clung to her leg. "Mom, I'm scared," the little voice said. Trembling, "Hold on to me," Alari told her. Voice firm, the enemy had fired without warning. There. Ship had no weapons, only refugees. But it didn't matter. To the enemy, they were targets. Nothing more. She remembered pushing Lyra into a safety pod, closing the door as the ship tilted sideways. Her daughter's tiny hands pounded on the glass. "Don't leave me," she cried. "I'll find you," Alari had promised, "wherever you land. I'll find you." The pod launched, shot out into the dark sky. Seconds later, the ship exploded. Alari had survived by luck. Thrown from the wreck into the cold dirt, she woke up screaming. Now, here in Jacob's home. The flashback had grabbed her and pulled her back to pain. Jacob rushed in, his face pale. He saw her curled up, breathing hard, eyes wet with silent tears. "Bad dream?" he asked. Stepping forward carefully, she didn't answer, just covered her face. He sat beside her on the floor, said nothing, just waited. After a while, Alari looked at him. Her voice broken. "She's alone, somewhere out there. She's small, afraid, maybe hurt." Jacob nodded slowly. He knew that kind of fear. "I used to wake up like that," he said quietly. "Every night after my daughter was taken." Alari turned her head toward him, surprised. "You had dreams too, worse than dreams." He said, "They didn't stop. Even during the day, I saw her in every corner, every sound. Until the memories stopped hurting and started burning." Alari stared at the wall. "Your people destroyed our colony," she said. "My people destroyed yours." Jacob nodded. "That's war," he said. "Pain for both sides." She looked down at her bandaged hands. "What are we now?" she whispered. "Survivors," he said. "Just survivors." The silence between them was deep but not cold. Jacob stood, then rolled up his sleeve. He held out his arm, showing a long scar running from elbow to wrist. "Laser. Burn," he said. "From the Second Battle of Corafield." Alari slowly pulled up her own sleeve, showed a scar that curled like a vine across her shoulder. "Shrapnel," she said. From the same battle, they looked at each other, different races, different worlds, but marked by the same war, the same pain. "Do you still hate us?" she asked suddenly. Jacob sat back down. "Thoughtful sometimes," he said honestly. "But not you. You saved me too. I did nothing." Alari said, confused. "You reminded me I'm still human." He replied, "You reminded me I can care again." Alari didn't know what to say. So she said nothing, but something in her chest felt lighter. Not healed, but not broken either. Later that night, she walked slowly around the room, looking at Jacob's things, books with bent corners, pictures of a little girl smiling, old tools, drawings, a small stuffed animal on a dusty shelf. Everything here was touched by loss, but also by love. She stopped by the table and found a small radio. She turned it on, static filled the air. Then a soft song played. The voice was human, but the tune was universal. A lullaby, slow and gentle. Jacob returned with a blanket and covered her without a word. Alari didn't stop him. She just kept listening to this song. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for letting me remember something soft." He smiled. "Even in war," he said, "there should be space for peace." And that night, for the first time since the crash, Alari fell asleep without fear, wrapped in a blanket in a human's home. Surrounded by scars, but not alone. The morning was quiet, too quiet. Alari stood near the window, watching the wind blow through the broken trees. The sky was gray, the air thick with silence. Something felt wrong. Her instincts, sharpened by years of battle, were warning her inside the small shelter. Jacob stirred his tea. He looked calm, but his eyes flicked toward the scanner every few seconds. A soft beep echoed from the device. He stood up quickly, checking the screen. His face changed. He walked to the door, opened it slightly, then shut it fast and locked it. Alari turned, her body already tensed. "What is it?" she asked. Voice? "Low patrol," Jacob said. "Human soldiers, 10 minutes out. They're sweeping for alien survivors." Alari's heart dropped. "They'll scan the shelter," she said. "They'll find me." Jacob moved fast, pulling open a hatch. In the floor, a small storage space sat under the boards, dark and narrow. "Get in," he said. "Now?" She hesitated. "What if they search here too?" "Then we take our chances," he said firmly. "But I won't let them take you." Alari climbed down into the space, curling into the shadows. Jacob closed the hatch just as loud boots thudded outside. A knock came, hard and sharp. Jacob opened the door slowly. Standing tall, 2 soldiers entered, wearing black armor, visors glowing red. They looked around the room, eyes scanning everything. One of them stepped forward. "We're searching the area," he said, "looking for a Yeshari female." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Don't see many of those around here," he said calmly. "Just me and the wind." The soldier walked closer. "We got heat signals," he said. "Something warm underground." Jacob didn't blink. "Old generator," he said. "Buried under the floor, still leaks power. You can check if you want, but it'll fry your scanner." The soldier looked uncertain. The other one stepped to the side, inspecting the shelves, found the books, the tools, the radio. "You live alone?" he asked. Jacob nodded. "Been alone a long time," he said. "Lost my family when the city fell." The soldiers exchanged looks. The one near the shelves picked up a photo of Jacob's daughter. He looked at it, then put it back. The first soldier stepped toward the door. "If you see anything," he said, "report it. Anyone helping aliens is a traitor." Jacob gave a tired smile. "Understood," he said. "I'll be sure to write it in my lonely journal." The soldiers left without another word. The door shut, the sound of their boots fading into the wind. Jacob waited 10 long minutes, then opened the hatch. Alari climbed out, her face pale, her body shaking. "They would have killed us both," she whispered. Jacob nodded. "Yeah," he said. "But they didn't." Alari looked around the room, her eyes resting on the photo of his daughter. "You risked your life," she said. "For me." He turned toward her. "You would have done the same," he said. "I already did," she replied, her voice soft. "Once, long ago. I helped a human child escape fire." They stood in silence. Ow. 2 survivors from opposite sides. The war had made them enemies. But today, trust had grown deeper, stronger. That evening, Jacob pulled out a map. He spread it on the table, tapping one corner. "There's a zone here," he said. "Old refugee sector. Now a safe zone for alien families. It's far, but you might find help there." Alari studied the map. "How far?" she asked. 2 days' walk," he said. "Through forest and old war zones. But you can make it. I'll guide you halfway." Her eyes burned with quiet hope. "Do you think my daughter could be there?" she asked. Jacob didn't promise anything, but he met her gaze. "It's possible," he said. "And if not, I'll help you search." She sat down slowly, her legs still weak. "What about you?" she asked. "You'll be hunted if they know you helped me." Jacob shrugged. "I've been hunted before," he said. "But this time, it's for something worth it." That night, they packed quietly. Jacob filled a bag with dried food, water, and a small knife. He gave her a heavy cloak, dark and Warm, before sleeping, he handed her something small. It was a necklace, simple, silver, with a broken charm. "My daughter wore it," he said. "Maybe it'll keep you safe." Alari held it gently. "I'll bring it back to you," she promised, "when I return with her." Jacob nodded. "I'll wait," he said. And in the deep quiet of that night, neither of them felt alone anymore. The next morning came with soft rain, gray light. Poured through the cracked window, Jacob stood at the door, his bag on his shoulder. Alari tightened the straps on hers, hiding the photo and necklace inside. Her legs were stronger now, her eyes sharper. They didn't speak much as they stepped outside. The shelter behind them faded into the fog. Ahead was a broken road, swallowed by vines and mud. Alari looked once over her shoulder. "Thank you," she said, voice quiet. Jacob nodded. "Let's move," he said. They traveled in silence. The forest around them was thick and wet. Birds chirped, and old machines sat rusting among the trees. Jacob walked ahead, stopping now and then to check the path. Alari followed, alert but calm, every now and then. He showed her signs, carvings on trees, broken stones shaped like arrows, old resistance markers. He had once guided people through this land. Now he was guiding her. At night, they camped under an old bridge. Jacob lit a small fire, hidden behind rocks. Alari leaned back against the wall, breathing slow. "I haven't slept outside in months," she whispered. Jacob smiled. "I haven't slept without fear in years," he said. She looked at him across the fire. "You've changed," she said. "No," Jacob replied. "I just remembered who I used to be." The next day, they reached the edge of the forest. Beyond was open land, flat and dry, in the distance. Smoke rose from a ruined town. "That's where we part," Jacob said. "The safe zone is 5 hours that way," he pointed. "Follow the sun. Keep low. Don't stop." Alari looked across the plain. No cover, no shadows. It would be dangerous. "Will they let me in?" she asked. Jacob pulled out a badge from his pocket. "An old resistance pass. Show them this," he said. "They'll know someone trusted you." She took it, holding it tight, then looked at him. Really looked. "You could come too," she said. "There's room for people like you." Jacob shook his head. "My place is there," he said, nodding back to the forest. "As long as others like you are still running, I'll stay." Alari didn't argue. She understood. She stepped closer and pulled the necklace from her pocket. Held it out to him, but Jacob raised his hand. "No." He said, "It was meant for someone strong, and you're stronger now." Her fingers closed around the charm again. She looked away quickly. "I never cry," she whispered. "Me neither," Jacob said with a soft laugh. But both of them had tears in their eyes. Alari stepped back, her face calm. "Will we meet again?" she asked. Jacob smiled. "Only if you bring her with you." She gave him a slow nod. Then turned, stepping into the field. Her body moved. With purpose now, she was no longer a dying warrior. She was a mother with a mission. Jacob watched until she became a small shadow in the distance. Then he turned and vanished into the trees. Hours passed. Alari moved carefully, crossing ditches. Hiding behind broken fences, her body was tired, but her heart was burning with fire. She reached the edge of the refugee zone by dusk. A tall wall stood before her. Lights blinking, guards above. "Stop," a voice shouted. She froze, hands raised. "I'm not here to fight," she called. "I'm looking for someone." "Weapons?" Pointed at her, voices shouted. Then she held up the badge. The guards paused. One of them stepped forward. He scanned the pass, then looked at her. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "A man named Jacob." She said, "He saved me." The guard's face changed. "You know him," he said. Alari nodded. "He told me to come here." The man stepped aside. "Follow me," he said. "You're safe now, inside the walls. Lights glowed soft and warm. People moved slowly, carrying water. Food, bandages, children played in the corner. And then she saw her. A small girl with bright eyes and a braid, sitting on a blanket, talking to an older woman. Alari froze, her heart leaping. "Lyra," she whispered. The girl turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, the world stopped. No war, no fear. Just two hearts finally together again. The girl ran. Alari dropped her bag and knelt. Lyra threw her arms around her. "I knew you'd come," the girl cried. Alari held her close, her voice shaking. "I promised, and I kept it." Behind them, the gates slowly closed, and far away, deep in the forest, Jacob smiled as the night fell, alone again, but not empty, because he had given someone back their world. The stars were bright above the refugee zone. Alari sat beside a small fire, her arms wrapped around her daughter. Lyra had fallen asleep in her lap, peaceful and warm. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alari's hands didn't shake. Her heart was full, her mind quiet. She looked around the camp. Other families had gathered, eating simple food, talking softly. There were different species here. Aliens, humans, half-blood children, even robots that had once been war machines. Now they carried water and built shelters. Alari had found more than her daughter. She had found a new home. The next morning, a man in a long coat approached her. He was one of the leaders of the zone. He had kind eyes and many scars. "You're the one Jacob sent," he said. Alari nodded. "He said you were strong," the man added. He was right. Alari stood tall, her daughter beside her. "I want to help," she said. "I know the forests, the patrol routes, the hiding places." The man studied her for a moment. "Why?" he asked. "You've already lost so much." She looked down at Lyra, then back at him. "Because someone helped me," she said. "Now it's my turn." He smiled and handed her a small silver badge. "Welcome to the SHIELD program," he said. "You're one of us now." Weeks passed. Alari trained others, led rescues, guided families through danger. Her name became known in whispers, the alien who returned. They said, the one who came back with fire in her heart. She wore Jacob's necklace every day. It reminded her of warmth, sacrifice, and quiet strength. It reminded her of the man who never asked for anything in return. One evening, while training a group of young scouts, a child pointed to the sky. "A ship," she shouted. Everyone looked up. A transport vessel descended slowly, its paint scratched, its engine loud. It landed outside the zone walls. Raising dust, Alari stepped forward, hand on her sidearm. The doors opened, and a voice called out, "I heard someone was waiting for me." She froze, her heart skipped a beat. From the ramp, Jacob stepped out. Same coat, same tired eyes, but this time he was smiling. Lyra gasped and ran forward. "You came," she cried, hugging his leg. Jacob looked down at her, eyes soft. "I told your mom I'd wait," he said, "but turns out I missed you. Both too much." Alari walked up slowly. She stopped in front of him. "I thought you'd stay hidden," she said. He shrugged. "Things change," he said. "People change." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the necklace. "I brought it back," she said. He shook his head. "No," he said. "You earned it, but I did bring something for you." From his bag, he pulled a small device, a data chip, records from old military scanners, he said. "I found traces of your ship's escape pods. There might be others, like you." Alari's eyes widened. Her people, her tribe, may be still alive. "Then we go," she said. Jacob smiled. "I figured you'd say that. They didn't waste time." Plans were made. A team was gathered. Lyra stayed behind in the safety of the camp. She hugged her mother tightly. "You'll come back," she whispered. Alari kissed her forehead. "I always come back," she said. the ship lifted off. Flying toward the marked location, Jacob sat beside her, his hand resting on the armrest. "I never thought I'd be flying again," he said. "Not after everything." Alari looked out. The window, stars shining around them. "Neither did I," she replied, "but we're not the same people anymore." They landed near the mountains. Old signals blinked on the scanner. A weak life sign appeared. Alari's heart beat faster. They followed the signal through broken terrain and finally found it, a small shelter hidden in rock. Inside were 3 figures, barely alive. One of them looked up. "Alari," the woman gasped. Alari dropped to her knees, tears falling freely. "My sister," she whispered. "I found you." The return to the zone was quiet and powerful. The rescued survivors were welcomed with open arms. Alari had kept another promise, and now? She was not only a survivor, she was a leader. That night, a feast was held. People danced, laughed, sang in many languages. Alari stood with Jacob near. The fire Lyra slept on his shoulder. "This war," Alari said. "It tried to break us." Jacob nodded. "But it failed," he said. "You reminded me how to fight not with weapons, but with heart." Alari smiled. "And you reminded me what it means to be safe." They stood side by side, 2 souls from different worlds, now building something stronger than war. A home, together.